Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be showing you 3 Stevie Ray Vaughan licks about time. The only reason that I haven't done this sooner is because everyone's done it and it seemed kind of lazy to me initially, but I realized, I do have a pretty good grasp of the Stevie texture and flavor, for lack of better terms. And so I might have something to offer that other people don't. I'm going to be offering some insights to some little seasoning that I like to put in there, So we're going to start with a classic Stevie lick, his bread and butter lick. And so that's just, we're in A, by the way, A. And so we're going to be on the G string, 7th fret. We're going to give it a little half bend, and then we're going to catch the 5th fret of the B right after that, as I will demonstrate now. And to make that a little cleaner, what I like to do is I like to, and this is, for me at this point, it just is very natural. I don't think about it. I don't even really know I'm doing it, but, thinking about it, I kind of reset my hand, I pick it up a little bit, and then at the same time I put it back down to mute that G string. At the same time I'm plucking that. You can see it. You can kind of see it happening. It won't come as naturally if you haven't played it before. Obviously, it's something that you have to practice. I had to practice it. But after that, moving on, we're going to be barring. So let me clear things up. We're going to do this. And then when you do hit that note, you also want to be barring that high E because that's the next note. And I like to pluck that high E with my middle finger for extra flavor. And then moving on to the 8th fret of the B string. You can use either your pinky or your ring finger depending on how fast it is. If I'm doing it real fast, I use my pinky. If I'm adding some dynamics in there, some texture, I'm going to be using my ring finger for vibrato reasons mostly. But yeah, so that's where we're going to land. And I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you give it a little bend because that just sounds so cool in the context of the lick fully. It's just something he would do. And then, but yeah, as you could probably see, back to the 5th fret of the B string. And then we're going to jump up with a little 7/5 on the E string. And then we're going to do a hammer-on pull-off onto the 6th string. Coming back to the 8th, back to the 5th. And those last 2 are on the B string, if you couldn't obviously tell. Play real slow, and I'm going to emphasize the notes that I like to hybrid pick for taste reasons. So yeah, that's a classic, and I hope that was helpful for you. Next lick, moving on, this is a really exciting one for me. This is one that I'm sure a lot of you will want to know how to play. This is something that you could hear maybe on like the In Session with Albert King. We all know the album. Yes, so there's a lot of taste in there. So we're jumping up to the 11th fret of the G string. We're going to give it we're going to let it ring out a little bit. We're not too eager to get to the next note, but when we do go to the next note, we're going to really go to that note. And that note is the 10th fret of the B string. I recommend raking, just kind of, not necessarily raking, but just barreling into it. Give it the meanest vibrato you can. And then we're going to hit it again real quick before we do a full step bend on the 13th fret of the B string. And then we're going to catch that note that we're bending up to here on the E, that's the 10th fret. That's 11th fret of the high E next. And then we're going to do a little hammer-on pull-off from the 10th to 11th. And then we're coming back to the 13th of the B. Back to the 10th of the high E, so it's a little back and forth here. Back to the 13th. And then we're going to pull off to the 10th fret. back to the first note on the G string there, 11th fret. And then we're going to go back to the second note, which is that 10th fret of the B string. And then we're going to repeat those notes with that full step bend on the 8th. Catch it one more time. So if that last little bit was confusing, it's because I didn't explain it very well. And I'm going to play through it slowly because we know the notes. We're familiar with the shape at this point, and I think it doesn't make sense to dissect every note. So I'm going to just play it slow, and hopefully you can follow along. I'm going to scoot up a little bit too. And notice, I will do the same thing with my ring finger plucking, or my middle finger plucking that high E. And, you know, it depends on how fast you're doing it. I just think it sounds really nice to put that punch on there with the pluck. But yeah, that's a really good one. And the last one, it's another one of his more used ones. Not one of his more known ones though. And this one is one of those ones that you could probably have learned by yourself, even just listening to it. But I still think it's an important lick in the history of blues, so. You know, just that kind of, I'm mainly going to be focused on the. And what makes this lick so difficult to play, you know, in his style is the way he spaces the notes. There is kind of like a roller coaster effect going on slightly, or like hills and valleys with the speed of it. You just kind of have to feel it. If you listen to a lot of Stevie, it'll be easier for you, I'm sure. So it's very similar to kind of how we started with the first lick. But we're going back and forth between these two notes. And you can even kind of displace that pressure to kind of make it a little cleaner if you can. And then we're just doing some really short plucks here between the 8th fret and the 5th fret of the high E. And then we're going to try and give that high E as much vibrato as possible with our pointer finger. I know that's very difficult for a lot of people. And then we're going to do a little pull off from the 8th to the 5th on the B. And then this isn't necessarily part of the lick, but this is a little Stevieism that I'll throw in there for you. He would do this, and then instead of plucking it again for the second time, he'd just back it up and then go right back into it, and he'd be like, hey, I played the note again. And then he would also kind of do these little walk downs. And, you know, sometimes you'll get a little flash of the thumb before he... But, you know, that's more of a rare thing, but I like it. Just kind of, you know, I thought that some of you might like that. So, thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment. If you're new here, please subscribe. Please, no, I'm just kidding. You don't have to, but I would appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for watching.